everybody is going to be dating each other, it's going to be really sloppy. And the way that we can minimize that hurt is just by looking out for each other, even if they're not part of our inner circle, even if they're not the person we're going to have as our forever soulmate. I do think that's something that you and I do talk about a lot. They don't have to be your partner forever for you to treat them with a modicum of kindness or like some level of, I see you as a human and I wouldn't want someone to do this to me, so here I am not doing this to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly, she's Julie, and we're here to find love. We're back again with another Bachelor recap. Today we're recapping episode 1 of Bachelor in Paradise season 9, the season premiere, and it is juicy. We are so excited to get into this. We also did a whole reaction video to Golden Bachelor's season premiere in a separate video, so we have another video. Make sure you go check it out on our channel so you can hear our thoughts on that. But for now, let's get into Bachelor in Paradise. For those of you who don't know us, we're 2 dating coaches who analyze the relationship psychology and dating themes in reality TV shows, especially the Bachelor shows. So if you're into this sort of stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow along to join the conversation.
So we're back on the beach, and it's amazing to see all of the top people from the Bachelor and Bachelorette seasons descend down those steps, greet Jesse Palmer, have their very cheesy intros.
We love the mess here to Find Love. I mean, we love the healthy love, yada, 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 but we love the mess. The mess is great. But this cast in particular, I feel like there's so many people that I am excited. Well, so many girls that I'm really excited to see. Rachel Recchia, I love her so much. I'm such a huge fan of hers. I went through a whole journey with her. On Clayton season, I was so skeptical of her. I don't know, I just wasn't into her. But then I totally fell in love with her when she was on her own Bachelorette season. And you guys should definitely look back at our old Bachelorette recaps because we had a lot to say about the portrayal of Rachel in Gabby and Rachel's season. But I'm so excited for her to be here. I hope she finds love. I am a little worried that she might be a little bit given that, she's the Bachelorette, I don't know how to approach her kind of energy. That's something that I'm a little bit worried about with her. And there's also so many other girls who just have a lighter energy, it's just a lot easier to kind of talk to, I feel like. So for example, Jess, I am so excited about her. She's such a sweetheart. She was so cute on Zach's season, and I could go into a whole thing about how I felt about the way Zach dumped her, which I won't, but essentially it was he dumped her for crying, and he was like, you have a need, how could you? And then he sent her home. So I'm so happy that she's here, and she looks like she's thriving, and I feel like a lot of people have expressed interest in her. We have Eliza, who was a hot mess on the beach last season Bachelor in Paradise. She had a lot of very weird takes on Rodney and being you shouldn't have let me go on these dates with other men, and it was a very strange energy. Hard to root for it, but she was looking banging when she came down the beach today, or last night, so I was here for it. Personally, my heart is desperate to give her another chance, and I hope that she thrives this summer. Brooklyn, Kylee, I mean, there's so many people, there's so many people that I'm so excited about. Well, I will say, I feel the girls in particular feel really top tier in this season. The men, I was a little bit more, I don't know if there's any men that I'm excited about of the people I've seen so far. I mean, Aven is the only one, but I don't know. I feel the balance might be a little bit off. I feel the girls are really great and the guys are a little bit mid.
Season. Totally. And it was a little bit annoying that the guys had the rose this round. So it was them having to pick from, it was 11 guys, I think 7 girls.
Yeah.
I don't love that power dynamic because I felt the girls were kind of having to play up to them a little bit more. And they were completely, the men are punching up, not the girls. So I felt that was really, really skewed. But you're right. Sean being on the beach, I'm not super stoked about him. Aaron being on the beach, not super stoked. Brayden, I'm not super stoked about, but I'm not surprised that he's the hot commodity and a lot of girls are interested in him. I do love Blake being on the beach just because I think just like Rachel, he also has a reputation that precedes him. He has been with so many bachelorettes, and I do think that I've never seen him being this super hot, attractive, fit guy before, but it makes a lot of sense that a lot of girls are interested in him. And I love that there's going to be a lot of bachelorettes coming down. I don't think they're there to date at all. Hannah B just got engaged. Katie Thurston's on F-Boy Island. So I do think that those people coming in, it's more so just to shake up the beach a little bit, much like what Kendall did to Grocery Store Joe on that season of just like causing a little bit of chaos. But the season it's coming, it has a really good start. There's a lot of attractions that have been simmering off screen in terms of like Instagram DMs and people just hanging out with each other. So they're bringing in that history onto this beach, and that's just going to be so incredibly chaotic and dramatic.
I was living for Kylie's description of like, oh yeah, I posted this selfie and then Aven liked it, and then I posted more like
emoji.
hot photos of me. He kept liking them, and then he sent me a fire emoji. I'm like, Kylie, I'm living. This is great. I mean, we all do this, don't we? It's like that, like, ooh, my crush liked my photo. I'm gonna like post more banging photos so that way maybe he'll like more of my photos and we'll have like a thing going. I mean, tale as old as time. I just really enjoyed. I like this. That was like a very like modern dating moment. I was like, yes, Kylie. Tell him how it is. So let us know down below who you're excited to see on the beach. Who do you think is gonna thrive down there in paradise, and who do you think, and who are you excited to see get a second chance at love? Leave your comments down below.
So Aven was a bombshell that came down on the beach, and he really shook up everything because what had transpired before was a very interesting love triangle between Will, who had his first kiss with Olivia, and Kylee, and him being interested in her. So that, I mean, I know me and Kelly have very different perspectives, and we have not gone into it yet. I'm team
excited.
Olivia. Yeah.
I'm kind of with Will on this one.
I want to hear what you thought about it first, because I have a very different perspective.
I know, I'm excited. I'm excited to like get into this because, so my initial reaction was, you know, it's paradise. Like, there's always like a lot of stuff kind of going on, a lot of like different attractions that are happening. It was like the first day that Will and Olivia had this like playful conversation and kissed a bunch. And then Kylie got the rose maybe the next day or later that same day. Maybe it was the next day. Kylie got the date card. She got the date card and was able to ask someone out on a date. I do think, yes, I think it would have been good for him to tell Olivia, but at the same time, it's not like they were already a couple. It was like they had shared a kiss. And so I think Olivia was right to be hurt, but I don't know that I think he necessarily crossed a line, because I don't think any expectation of exclusivity was established between the two of them. Clearly, Olivia thought that they were starting something, so maybe there was unclear communication or like no communication about what they both were intending by the kiss. And this made me start to think about like, what does a kiss mean? Like, what do we expect when we kiss someone? What do people think a kiss means? And the truth is, people have different interpretations of that, right? Some people might think, oh, we kissed, that means we're going to be doing something, like seeing each other in a certain way. Whereas other people might see a kiss and feel like, you know what, like, that's just something casual. It doesn't necessarily mean that something is going to happen. And people have these different interpretations of that. So I think because we know people have different interpretations of that, it's not fair to make an assumption about what it means. So I think both Will and Olivia made an assumption. Olivia assumed that her interpretation of a kiss, which is that you guys are going to date, is the same as what Will's was. And Will made that same assumption about Olivia. Will was like, well, I don't think a kiss means anything. And he assumed it would mean the same thing to Olivia. So they both were making assumptions about the other person. And so it was in a certain way, they both kind of, I feel like both of them didn't do a good enough job of kind of getting on the same page. So I'm not like, oh my gosh, Olivia was out of line. But I do think that she started to kind of trash talk both Will and Kylie in a way that I was rubbing me the wrong way. So, and I do think that at the end of the day, unless you establish exclusivity, it's not like Will is out of line for going on a date, especially considering how casual that kiss was.
Okay, great defense.
That's my take.
Yeah. Great defense, Kylee. Let me jump in of my perspective.
Yeah,
I
go
felt
for it. Tell me.
I felt like what had made it. I mean, my initial gut reaction was after the kiss. I totally get it because they're on Paradise. They are dating. There is no promises of exclusivity. What is hard is that they're on a beach together. So there is a courtesy extended to I am living with you. Like, you are someone on the island that I do see. It's not like you're never going to see me going on these dates with these other people. You are witnessing me in those moments. So
That's true.
I mean, she did take a villainous turn. I was like, Olivia, if you just like had
Just
that
stop talking.
perspective, if you just stopped talking and you just didn't like continue to make waves and try to steal Aven from Kylee, that was like a mean girl thing that she kind of like, she did a heel turn basically. But before then, I'm going to talk about this, like that moment, that conversation where she spoke to Will and she was like, I wish that I had a heads up from either the girl I'm going to be living with, sharing space with, talking about dating with, or the guy that I had kissed, where on the beach, even though a kiss is very casual by like regular dating standards, a kiss on the beach is signaling something more serious because everything you do is serious, whether it's a date, whether it's a rose, whether it's a kiss. Even though it's not a pure escalation into your relationship, it is signaling, I have chosen you out of the batch of people, and this is who, out of everybody, I'm kind of vibing with. At least that's like the general read that I think a lot of people can take, or at least how I perceived in that situation, because I think that for her, I mean, I remember them kissing because as they were kissing and after it happened, people were still coming down the beach. So it was extremely early on the show. Like, they had established it pretty early on. And I think that was Will just picking up on her cues. I mean, she was being really flirty. He was being flirty back. They were having a lot of banter. The moment was right. So they kind of just started to like lean into that moment. But I think from that leaning in, the way that he withdrew suddenly did kind of cause her to feel a little bit discombobulated, and for him to just kind of have any sense of like, I am living with this person. I am in an experiment with this person. I will be seeing this person every day. I could be dating one of her friends. She could be dating one of my friends or someone from my season. It's so much more complicated, where I felt like at least a conversation was owed. But I think what happened was that she went up to him, and this was really interesting to me. He went up to her and was like, I need to talk to you about this. Or I don't feel like I owe you a conversation. And she was like, oh, you don't owe me. Like, you don't even feel like that I'm deserving of having a conversation that I've stated is important for me to have. Like, I think that she clearly was stating a need with that communication of, I want to be with the person that would communicate to me that if anything happened, like, at least, or any shifts in the dynamic happened, I would want someone to be transparent. That's her stating, this is the partner I need. Will was kind of stating, whoa, like, I am not ready to be committed to anybody. I am just dating on the beach. He was downplaying, minimizing, kind of like excusing himself from any accountability in her feelings.
Yeah.
And her gut instinct came through so clearly when she was like, my temperature is rising in my body. And that was already such a red flag, because when you are dating someone, ideally, at least at the very beginning stages, you're not fighting with someone right away. This was a huge incompatibility, and I hope that he doesn't try to get back with her later. She doesn't try, because they've kind of, at least in my perspective, have communicated that he's not communicative. She wants a really communicative person. She wants someone that's gracious enough to understand that there are very subtle house rules of dating someone within the same, if you're living in the same house together, like you're living in a beach house together, he's not willing to give that. So therefore, I think it's I really liked her actually standing up for herself, and I really liked her being like, oh, like, you don't feel like you owe me these things. That's so messed up. Because she was clearly stating, you have like really crossed some boundaries of mine. And then he said some really messed up things about like the sucking toe thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you picked up on. Yeah.
What I will say, I agree about the toe sucking thing, by the way, which we'll get to in a second. But I will say that you're right that there is like a courtesy thing of,
Yeah.
You know, clearly she did think that there was enough of a establishing of something between them. Like, she did think that. And so he should, as soon as the two of them sat down and he realized that's how she thought, your thinking shouldn't go to, well, let me explain all the reasons why you're wrong and I don't owe you anything. Really, that
was so funny, by the way. He just got defensive.
I know. He was so defensive. I completely agree. I thought the way he handled that conversation was like, ew, big ew energy. But ideally what you're supposed to do, if you are a wholehearted, caring person, even if you aren't interested in this girl, clearly you have given her a signal that she misread, or she misread something that you did and there was a misunderstanding. And she was coming in with a little bit, to me, I think she was coming in with pretty passive-aggressive energy. She's like, I've already said I'm fine. What do you want? So her energy was really already a little bit aggressive. So I'm not surprised that he was struggling to, like, take his, like, kindest self and bring it into that conversation. I'm not surprised. However,
that's fair.
She clearly thought something was going on between them, and all he had to do was say that, I'm sorry that I gave you that impression and I didn't clarify with you that that's not how I was seeing things. So simple. Like, and it's no skin off his back to own up to the fact that he had confused her. Something about their interaction confused her. And it doesn't make him a bad person. It just means that there was a miscommunication between them, which there was. There was a miscommunication between them. And instead, he jumped to trying to, like, I don't owe you anything. Like, you can't be upset. You don't have a right to be upset at me. And it's like, what? People's feelings are their feelings. Like, she always has the right to be upset. And I don't think that, I did think that it was a little bit taken too far. Like, I think that it was reasonable for her to be upset. I don't think it was reasonable for her to make it seem like he had double-crossed her and that Kylee is a snake, like all the things that she was starting to say about the two of them. I think that stuff all crossed the line. But her being upset, like, that's fine. Like, you had a connection with a guy, and as it turns out, like, and you thought something was going to happen. As it turns out, he was actually not interested in you in that way. It's okay to be upset. I don't think it's okay to lash out, but I think her feelings were reasonable, and he really didn't hold them with any care at all. He immediately jumped to the defense, which I will say in his defense made sense because she was so clearly out for blood with him. And so I get why he was defensive. Yeah, I get why he was defensive, but you're right that it wasn't the right way to approach the conversation for him at all. But I also don't think it was the right way for her to approach the conversation. So I am a little bit of the mind that both of them didn't handle this well. And I agree with what you're saying about, like, the house rules or just like the courtesy. It would have been so easy for him to, like, before going on the date with Kylee, just to be like, hey, Olivia, like, I know we had a thing going, but, like, you know, I just want to make it clear that, like, I am interested in pursuing things with other people, and I'm interested in Kylee, and I know that's, like, kind of a heel turn from when we were hanging out yesterday, but I just wanted to, like, let you know that this is what's happening so you don't get confused. But, you know,
great point.
I don't necessarily think that her level of lashing out at him was appropriate.
Oh, it turned. I was like, Olivia, if you had just stood up for yourself in that moment, which was completely appropriate, yes, that would have been completely valid, because this is a very classic case of why it's important to be nice to people that you're dating, because these are the repercussions that can happen afterwards. And Kelly says this a lot whenever we cover Bachelor shows ever. You can just be gracious and kind to somebody, and it just creates positivity in, like, your interactions with them. I do feel like when she kind of came into the conversation, she was very vulnerable. He started to kind of display, I'm not going to apologize. It led into her being passive aggressive. It led to him being defensive. And then what spiraled was her really taking it out on the both of them, which we'll get into in a moment, of just her trying to steal Aven from Kylee, like, now that she knows that's her main person, and also really trash talking the both of them on the beach because of the way that she felt like she was treated, which was like in her perception, she felt like she wasn't treated very well. So she's like, I'm returning that same exact energy back to you. So it was just really hard because in that moment, it's very hard for her to admit my feelings for her. I kissed you. I felt like it weighed more in my mind. I felt, especially because she's very vulnerable, there is a rose that she's looking for. She has put in her eggs into his basket. He has told her, I'm putting it into several people's baskets. And she wasn't given that heads up. She's feeling very scared and skittish. And then he came in being like, I'm not going to apologize for this right now because I feel like I'm being attacked. And it just really created this bigger cataclysm between the both of them, where a simple apology and her just admitting, my feelings for her, I did like you. It's clear you don't like me as much as I thought you liked me, and that does hurt my feelings. I do feel insecure about it, but I'm okay with you. That would have been the true conversation that they really needed to have.
Yes.
What has transpired is, I mean, fun for us to cover Bachelor in Paradise. This is like a love triangle on a square, on like a hexagon. Like there's so many parts that are going to be like really messing with each other because this one conversation.
Yeah.
It wasn't handled with care. And then all of these like passive aggressive
things are going to happen now because of it.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the thinking. I'm sure that he is gonna be like kind of aware of like, oof, you know, like her feelings mattered, and her feelings do matter because this is what happens after you're treated poorly.
Yeah. I mean, there is a graciousness I think both of them needed to give to each other. You're right that he should have been gracious enough to just like tell her prior to the date that this is what's going to happen. I also think she needed to give him gracious because she was lashing out at them even before that conversation happened. As soon as he left for the date, she was like, Kylie is a snake. This guy is like, oh, he played me. She's going to have to taste me. I won't have to taste her. Like she was immediately lashing out. So like, to me, there was a grace that I think she could have given Will as well, which was, he didn't talk to me before this date. And I think that he owed me more, but also like I can recognize that maybe I placed more weight in that kiss than he did, and I made an assumption about him that wasn't fair, and let's talk about this before I jumped to he's a snake. And she didn't give him that graciousness, he didn't give her the graciousness, and both of them kind of just like went into a bit of a combative position basically immediately. I think this really could have been avoided, to your point. This really could have avoided by both of them just deciding to exercise a little bit of kindness, a little bit of grace, and being willing to say, like, just because we're not going to be together doesn't mean I have to start lashing out at you. I can still be kind, even if we are recognizing that we're gonna, like, Will is recognized, I'm not interested in you the way I thought I was. I'm actually more interested in Kylie. Olivia realized, like, oh, he's not interested in me the way I thought he was. I'm gonna actually have to go pursue something else. Both of them could have came to those realizations without being like, and therefore I'm going to be mean to you. And so I think both of them kind of fumbled the bag here. And you're right, it's going to cause so much drama because neither of them were able to exercise grace.
We typically don't see this happen in real time in terms of, like, when we're dating and we're on dating apps, you can ghost, you can distance yourself, you can detach yourself, and you don't see what happens when someone can, like, how someone can spiral from the interaction. And I do feel like it was very telling for the both of them to kind of show, like, what was going on in their heads, because I do think with Will in particular, because he had that rose, you are immediately giving more choice. You are considered eligible because there are more women jockeying for your rose, and you are getting a lot more interest than you maybe would typically receive. So he was kind of coming at it from, not to throw any shade, but I was kind of, and maybe that's my bias in defending Olivia so hard. As you say all of that.
She was looking damn fine. I was like, girl, you're not going to have a problem here. Like, please don't, like... bust your booty. It's not over Will. Yeah. Come on.
Out of all of the men to be upset about, not Will. You know, like, I was thinking, look in the mirror. Remember who you are. Remember, like,
I know.
Just like, it's so funny how we can get into the insecurities. And I want to hear your perspective on the toe sucking, because I think after he said that was immediately when I was like, oh, I don't like Will. I think that at least how Will treated her in that conversation, he gave her a final knock that she didn't need. Already she was feeling so whatever. Yes, she did some really crappy things, but then he started to I think slut shame her flirting a little bit, but I want to hear what you think about that.
I'm absolutely with you. I mean, he basically grabbed onto the toe sucking thing and blamed that as for why he didn't take her seriously and why he didn't take their connection seriously. It was giving slut shaming. He used her playful, foot fetish conversation as they were just having fun, and he used that as a reason for why she wasn't worthy of commitment or why Kylee was more desirable than her, because maybe his conversation with Kylee was about deeper stuff. To me, it just felt like reaching for an excuse for why he didn't have to care about Olivia's feelings. He was reaching for an excuse, and the excuse that he reached for was just this slightly slut-shamey thing that could put her down and excuse him from having to be responsible for her feelings. And I think you and I are slightly on a different page about whether he was responsible for her feelings. I do think that he didn't need to change his actions or prevent his exploration with Kylee in order to stop Olivia from having her feelings. I think he should be allowed to go explore things with Olivia, but he should have just stuck to his guns on I wanted to explore this, and I think I have the right to explore this, instead of trying to put Olivia down to explain why he wanted to explore it. It just felt like he sort of shamed her kink and her sexuality and her playfulness, and I was just, you're right, in that conversation I had that feeling of be real, man. You liked that in that conversation. You liked that she was so sexually forward. You liked that she was, being so playful and flirty, and at that time he was willing to play with her and, enjoy that situation. But then he was so quick to shut her down for that exact same behavior later. It's giving weak to me. It's lazy. It was laziness. It's instead of caring for your feelings, I'm just going to reach for this slut-shaming excuse as an easy way out of caring for your feelings. And it's just, I don't know. I was not here for it.
I agree with that. It's not I didn't think that he should have not explored things with Kylee. I think that he just at least owed Olivia a conversation of just a heads up. I am going to be on a date, or I'm going to talk to you afterwards, and I'm actually going to apologize if I had you misconstrued anything, because I can feel that you're hurt. That's the only thing that he owed her in that conversation, but that wasn't the conversation he gave. He was just super defensive and being no, I just, no. And then it was the playing thing that you said, he was playing with the toe sucking, and then the next day he kind of tossed her aside. That's actually not my thing, and that was kind of weird. You were coming on so strong, and I didn't know why you were doing that. It was embarrassing, frankly, because it was she was being fun and playful about it, and he made her feel crappy and devalued in that moment, and that was hard for me to see Will in a different way, just knowing that he would be able to talk to someone like that. So I think it's a red flag. I'm not sure how big it is. I don't know if he's a big jerk or if he's just having a lot of power right now because he has the rose, and he has some, he was so interested in Kylee because she is one of the hot commodities on the beach right now. So I think he was just also very excited that she was into him. So it's TBD how his narrative will play out. But right now it's a little bit messy, or a little bit thoughtless. Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
I will say this was my final straw with Will, but I didn't have a good impression of him from the season he was on. I think it was Michelle's season, whatever
the
season
jacket.
it was that I didn't actually have a good impression of him anyway, because I think he was getting into a lot of beef with he was fighting with a different guy in a way that was giving a weird toxic masculinity thing, and the other guy threw his jacket in the water, but I think the nature of their fights was, I don't know, I didn't have a good impression of Will from that. But then here, actually the thing that set me off with him happened before all of this Olivia stuff. It was when he actually originally sat down with Kylee, who he was already interested in, but he had sat down with her, and one thing he said in that conversation, they were just starting to talk to each other and banter. And he goes like, oh, don't worry, you can trust me. I can be your safe space. He said that. And when he said it, I actually already, that was like a red flag to me, because I'm really big on taking your words seriously. I really don't like it when people just throw around words like, you can trust me and I can be your safe space, so casually. I mean, Kylee had the right reaction to this, which was she just like rolled her eyes and like didn't take it seriously. But to me, it's sort of a red flag if someone starts using language like that and making this type of promise to you so quickly without even really knowing you yet. Like, it was like their first conversation, and for him to say something like that, to me, it just signaled a kind of like carelessness or thoughtlessness, like you're saying, Julie. It was like he was being so careless with his words and
just saying crap.
Right. And like, as a dating coach, it's like I so often see this type of carelessness, like just saying like, you can trust me. Oh, I'm so into you. I'm going to choose you every day forever, whatever, like random crap like that, like saying those words. Like, I so often see people say those words early on in a relationship, and that's what later on leads to the other person being so devastated and heartbroken when they realize that that person wasn't actually as committed to them as they thought, because they had heard all those words and they believed those words when they heard them, right? And they were misled into a false state of security, right? It's like when you hear someone say I've never felt this way about you, about anyone before, and you can trust me and I'm going to be there for you no matter what. Like, people start saying that stuff to you. Most people, you believe them because you just assume that people are saying things that are truthful. And then when it ends up being wrong, it creates trust issues, right? So to me, when Will said this, that already put my spidey senses on of like, I don't think that this guy is very thoughtful with his words. I think he just will say things, and I really don't like people who, I don't know, it feels like you're setting someone up for heartbreak because you're being so careless with your words. And I really believe in only making promises that you mean. So yeah, when Will said that, I was already like, I don't know about him. And then the whole thing happened with Olivia and him kind of being like kink shamey, slut shamey with her and just like kind of dismissive. So I'm already off of him personally. Like, I don't know that I love the guy. I mean, let's see how the season plays out. But so far, I'm not getting a good impression of this person.
That's a really good observation, because I kind of forgot his storyline from Michelle Young's season. I remember the jacket because of the flashback to him looking sad and the jacket floating in the pool. But I forgot, like, his behaviors from that season, because to me, he just seems so impulsive. He kind of just does things when he wants to do things. He kisses women when he wants to kiss them. He says things when he wants to say them. He isn't really thinking about are my actions deepening something? He's just thinking, I want to take this action because this action feels good in my body and there is a very attractive woman in front of me. And it's very present, motivated, and focused, which is fine, but it shows, I mean, he's certainly not going to be I would be very surprised if he's one of the couples that gets engaged at the end of the season. It's very clear this man is here to date, and that's totally cool. But I hope that he's making his intentions known so that he is matching and self-selecting him into that sample group in the show that are dating versus like getting into a serious relationship. So then at least like the feelings are clear and transparent and people know what they're getting into.
I really like that you brought that up of like, there's not actually a problem with if you just want to kiss people and like have a good time with people, that's fine. But you just do that with the right people. You do that with people who are also interested in that. And it's really important to understand that there are consequences to your action. Here to find love. You and I, we are all about people following their pleasure and being able to enjoy pleasure and intimacy with folks. Do what you want. I'm very into that, but you have to think about the consequences and who you're bringing into that, right? You don't just you can't pull people into it who have a different set of expectations about what it means to kiss and, be intimate, right? And you want to make sure that the people that you are playing with in that way are also there to play. And it seems like clearly Olivia and Will were on the same page, but you're right. Like, clearly Will didn't do his due diligence of confirming that he was on the same page as Olivia, and she got hurt in the process. And I do think that we have a responsibility to the people that we connect with, truly anyone that we interact with. I do think we have a responsibility to think about how our actions are impacting them. And I don't think, clearly Will said the words, I don't owe you anything, or I don't owe you a conversation.
That was
so
the final, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, so clearly he doesn't think that it's his responsibility to take care of people, but I mean, as we have already said, it's like you should always be trying to take care of the people that you are in relationship with. Even if it's as simple as like a casual makeout, you want to make sure that you're not doing that and they're going to be hurt afterwards, right? So
I love everything that you said. I totally agree. And we will be seeing Olivia spiraling from this action. That was pretty incredible to see the preview about Aven and Olivia doing this now maliciously. There is some intent of wanting to have Kylee feel, how does it feel for someone that you're interested in to be interested in someone else? Like, the problem was, I just don't think Kylee was doing it in a way that was with malintent. She was just interested in this guy. She didn't really have, from what I've seen, a close relationship with Olivia to kind of say and communicate anything. She didn't owe anything. And now it does feel it is going to be quite chaotic. I have a feeling that Aven, if he is interested in Kylee, it will still happen. But Olivia being in the picture will definitely muddle things, because she's being very purposeful about wanting to inflict some kind of harm.
And she's hot, so.
She's hot. She's really attractive, and you know what? I think next week the women have the rose, so that is so she's gonna be in that new power dynamic, and it'll be interesting to see how Will is kind of like flailing from his actions.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I will say about Olivia too is, she also was giving slut shame, kink shame, and
for sure,
very like bad. Girl hating, cat fighting type of thing. She was giving a lot of that. It was like very weird to see her lash out at Kylee. And to be like, Kylie's gonna be taking my sloppy seconds. It's like, why are you putting Kylee down? Like, Will is the guy that in theory you should be upset with. You know, sure, Kylee could have had a conversation with Olivia prior to going on the date with Will. And maybe she should have, but then to be like, well, let me make Kylee to seem like this pathetic, like, taking my leftovers type of girl. I just think, girls, let's support each other. Don't tear each other down. Like, what is this? Go have a conversation with her. Tell her that it hurt your feelings. And, like, you know, you would have appreciated her telling you beforehand. And that's it. I'm sure Kylee would just be like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that would hurt you. Period.
Yeah. That's... It's so hard, because in that moment, of course, no one owes each other anything, because you're not in these relationships. You're not in these particular, like, super close friendships. But if someone's feelings are hurt and you had some part in it, you don't have to feel like by you saying sorry that means that you're taking that full accountability into how it's just you being like, I'm so sorry that you felt that way. Yeah, like, I hurt you that way, and I apologize. That's it. Right. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to go further than that. But that acknowledgement goes a long way, especially because at the heart of Olivia's actions, she's speaking from a place of wounded vulnerability. That's really what it is. And all she needs is for someone to speak to that. So then these other actions that are ricocheting from that response of that hurt can quiet down a little bit, and then they can get back to what they're looking for. But there is a reason where everybody's on this beach. Like, outside of the social media stuff, which is always a factor with BIP, it's a fact that communication is maybe not their strongest suit, or maybe that's not something that they're really carrying forward. Not a lot of people are great at communication of dating, and we're seeing what happens when you're not.
Right, exactly. And I really appreciate that you brought up the difference between, like, apologizing and taking accountability versus, like, taking full ownership of, like, this person's feelings. I was thinking about it more, and, you know, for Kylee to approach Olivia and just to say, or whatever, Olivia to say, like, that hurt my feelings for you to date him, to go on a date with him when I told you that I kissed him. For Kylee to just say, like, oh, I'm really sorry to have hurt you, and I, like, didn't mean to cause you pain. I think that we're in this situation. I believe that we should be able to date people, and clearly we're not on the same page about it, but I don't want to hurt you, and I'm sorry that I did. Simple. Like, you can still
Full
have
stop.
your difference, this disagreement of, like, how to approach a situation while still being attentive and caring to somebody's feelings. It is so easy to be attentive and caring to people's feelings, and it doesn't have to say something about you. Oh, you're this heinous person. Now you're the person who backstabbed Olivia. It doesn't have to turn into all of that. It could just be as very simple as, I don't like hurting people, and I hurt you, and I'm sorry that I did it. Simple. Period. I'm going to try to not hurt you by being clear with you so you know what the expectations are and how I'm going to move, and, you know, period, right?
I love that.
So,
it's not this weighted thing. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge sit-down conversation. It could literally be a 1-2 minute conversation.
right.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you for saying that. They part their ways. And that's the thing about apologies, is that it feels like it has to be this really big moment. It feels like this reckoning. It feels like this come to Jesus conversation. And it's not. It's really just speaking to that person's hurt and pain, acknowledging whatever part you had into it, and resolving to look at it differently or try something differently next time, and minimizing whatever action you could have that could cause more hurt. Because everybody is going to be dating each other. It's going to be really sloppy, and the way that we can minimize that hurt is just by looking out for each other, even if they're not part of our inner circle, even if they're not the person we're going to have as our forever soulmate. I do think that's something that you and I do talk about a lot. They don't have to be your partner forever for you to treat them with a modicum of kindness, or like some level of, I see you as a human, and I wouldn't want someone to do this to me, so here I am not doing this to you.
Right. Absolutely. Just care about people.
Yeah.
Well, let us know down below what you all thought of this Will, Olivia, Kylee love triangle and the way everyone handled the situation. Are you team Olivia, team Will, team Kylee, or are you kind of where we are, where we're kind of like occupying a middle ground of like, I think everyone did something a little bit wrong. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. Let's keep the conversation going. As always, exercise some kindness in the comments. We're talking about real people here. These are real people who exist in the universe. We are discussing them like characters on a TV show, as fictional characters in a certain way, but they do exist. Let's not be hateful as we talk about this. So leave those comments down below and let's talk about it.
Okay, so that was everything for Bachelor in Paradise. We are so excited to be back with you guys every single week to recap this season, to recap the Golden Bachelor. We can't wait to see how the mess is slowly going to unfold as the episodes go on. So come check us out next week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.